For more now, we're joined by Ambassador Husam Zomlot. He's head of the Palestinian mission to the UK. Ambassador, great to have you back on the show. You heard plenty of clips, plenty of reaction there from right around the world, disbelief and outrage. Just your reaction to what we've heard in that press conference that made many of us, scratch our heads.
Regrettable, unfortunate, the least needed thing at this point in time. We all wanted to go into the direction of ending wars, of going into a path of peace, of having a new American president delivering his promise to be a peacemaker, and we ended up with an absurd proposition that would only start new wars and would complicate things much further. And therefore, we Palestinians know what we are up against for 100 years. We know the essence of the whole project in Israel is the erasure of the Palestinian people. We've lived it. I am the product. I am the product of the first Nakba, the first ethnic cleansing, 2/3 of the Palestinian people. We know what Israel is about, but we know what we are about. 100 years of a war of extermination, and here we are. There are 7 million Palestinians on their land, in their homes, and 7 million Palestinians in the refugees in the diaspora. We also know the position of the international community. You've heard from the Arab world, you've heard from the UK, and the rest of Europe. Consensus. This is, Isa, this is about the US. This is not about us. This is not about Israel. Israel is very well known what they are after, Netanyahu, the ideologues, the fanatics. This is about the standing of the US. I mean, a US president proposes ethnic cleansing in today's time and age. Is really worrying about how the US could be a leading force in the international scene.
Let me give you a sense, Ambassador. We heard the US National Security Advisor Mike Waltz speaking on another channel today said Trump's proposal to take over Gaza is meant to pressure neighbouring Arab nations to come up with their own solution. Quote, it's going to bring the entire region to come with their own solution. So who is he pressuring here with this proposal or this idea?
Well, the only side that he needs to pressure is the person next to him, Benjamin Netanyahu, who is officially wanted by the ICC. The region has a plan. Palestine has a plan. The plan is on the table. It has international consensus. We need to maintain the ceasefire, make sure it's permanent. We need to rebuild Gaza, make sure people have lives and livelihoods and homes and hospitals and schools. And we need to move swiftly to unite the West Bank and Gaza. That can only happen by the State of Palestine and the government of the State of Palestine that is absolutely ready with all the plans, all the international partnership to make sure that we provide for our people in the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem, and we move swiftly to implement rather than talk about the two-state solution.
This, as you know, Ambassador, I mean, he's a transactional president. He's the man behind the art of the deal. Who knows what he's thinking here? But I wonder whether you think, and, this has been, like you clearly said, has been rejected throughout the Middle East. But I wonder whether you think that he will find a way, or he'll try to really a strong-arm Cairo or Amman to actually do something here, because he was quoted, maybe USA, he was quoted as saying just last week, they will do it, they will do it. We do a lot for them and they're going to do it.
The measure of misrepresentation of the Palestinian people and the dehumanization of the Palestinian people is just mind-boggling. I mean, we are a nation, very vivid, very rooted. We have an agency. Isa, we have a political agency, we have a national movement, we have a cultural agency, legal agency. Look at us. Nobody will push us around. Whatever happens, whatever third party happens, we will remain on our land, period. And I've just told you, we started with an ethnic cleansing campaign in 1948, then the occupation and the colonization and the theft of our land and the system of oppression and the apartheid and the besiegements and the murder and the rounding of hundreds of thousands of our people. Almost 1 million Palestinians have been arrested since the occupation, without charge, without trial, our children, etc. Ending with the genocide, a genocide in Gaza, a la the International Court of Justice and the ICC arrest warrants. Genocide, yet, the first day the genocide began to end, you've seen the hundreds of thousands of Palestinians marching on foot to their destroyed homes, putting whatever they have to live in their home. That's the spirit. And no force on earth will be able to remove the Palestinians from their home.
And I think
So I'm
it's so
assured,
important.
I'm sorry to tell you, I'm assured, we've been there.
Do you take this seriously, though? Do you take this seriously, Ambassador, as foreign policy?
I was born in a refugee camp. I know what I'm talking about. I know my community. I know my mothers.
And we've heard it. We've heard from Palestinians today on this.
I know my mothers, and I know my society, my community. Nobody will take us anywhere. We are there.
Do you take this seriously? Is it dangerous? Or is this just a lot of, throwing ideas out?
He's not an amateur or a commentator. He's the president of the United States of America. So he must watch what he says.
Yeah.
And he must think and think again of what he says, because what he says, even if it's not implemented, and I assure you 100% it will not be implemented, even if it's not implemented, he has introduced it, normalized it.
Yeah.
And normalize ethnic cleansing, mass expulsion, takeover, gross violations of international law, the actual collapse of the international order. And who's watching? You think it's going to be only Gaza? Who's next? The West Bank is next, and you've heard them say.
And actually, I'm glad you mentioned the West Bank. Of course. And I think we have the sound from the West Bank. Have a listen to what he said on potential proposals for the West Bank. Have a listen to this.
Mr. President, do you support Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria, areas which many believe is the biblical homeland of the Jewish people?
Well, we're discussing that with many of your representatives. You're represented very well, and people do like the idea, but we haven't taken a position on it yet. But we'll be making an announcement probably on that very specific topic over the next 4 weeks.
And we've already seen the ramping up in the West Bank in the last few weeks. We've reported on this, the attacks in the West Bank. This is troubling.
Of course, it's not just troubling. This is exactly what Netanyahu wants, what Netanyahu has been talking to the president about. This is the coalition Netanyahu builds, and this is the only way Netanyahu can return to his fanatical coalition and tell them, I've got you the West Bank and Gaza. I've got you everything you've dreamed of. Gaza will be gone and the West Bank will be annexed. Of course, this is worrying, Isa, but this is not going to happen. And I'll tell you something. Today is not really, the focus should not be Washington. The focus should be New York. Today should be the international community. Everybody, every one of us should be thinking, not just the Palestinians, and thinking again and again. How we left this to fester for all these decades, all the way to a Netanyahu, who is wanted by the ICC for war crimes and crimes against humanity, allow them all the way to go to the White House and propose mass expulsion. And this is a moment, and then to find purchase in Washington. I think the international community, including London, Paris, Berlin, China, everybody, need to seriously think of the business of the last 70 years. We have to change our modus operandi, and we have to understand that we need to bring an international alliance, create leverage, and enforce the international will rather than demand it and call for it.
Ambassador, it's always great to have you on the show. Really appreciate your analysis here and your viewpoint. So critical at this juncture, Ambassador. Good to see you. Thank you very much. And still to come right here on the show, Global Reaction.